Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and it's Brick Haul O'Clock, this time from bricklink.com. Okay, let's get into that. We've got quite a lot of bags in the packaging. Right, where to start? Let's start with this bag because I can see the main reason for the order. After doing the park that we recently did near the tram line, I was short of quite a few fence pieces in white, in this sort of traditional style, and there was only about 3 vendors that had the right number, which is quite a lot. There's about 20 in here. So that was the reason for choosing this vendor, because they were the best price with the right quantity, and the whole rest of the order is basically stuff that that person had in their store that was either well priced or that I could imagine using in a future project. So they are number one. I've got a lot of these connectors and a lot of Technic axle pieces because I'm going through these at a rate of knots, and if I'm going to be motorizing rides underneath the ground, I might want to use one motor to power more than one ride, and therefore I'm going to have to make a lot of very long axles. So it's good to have a good variety of different lengths of axles anyway, just because when you're doing a particular Technic setup, you always need the exact right length. You can't really bodge it. But these connectors and these Technic axles are going to come in very useful. Also for the park, I needed these sort of white ice cream pieces for the tops of the posts, just to give it some decor. I need about 5. He had 1, so I bought 1. Can't remember why I bought the plate with the stick on. A couple of modified bricks and corner bricks in white. I think I need those for my tram stop. A white flower piece. It's probably about a penny, so why not? And a 1x1 white tile. A couple of white window frames. I always find window frames are worth buying when they're a good price because they're quite expensive new. It's the same with pieces of the glass to go in them. You know, if you buy them new, they're sort of 50p each or something, and often second hand they're 10p or something like that. So, and when you need them, you tend to need quite a few. Big bag of dark bluish grey. Now I know I'm going to need loads of pieces, especially slope pieces for rocks underneath my bridges, so where the land meets the sea, cliff faces and so on. So I've got about 20 of those. I've also got bricks of all shapes and sizes, 2x4, 2x3, 2x2, 1x4, 1x6, 1x1, 1x3, and basically I just bought everything that was available that was under a certain sort of price per brick, which varies depending on the size of them, because if they're big, they're worth more and so on. So basically, if it qualified as a 1x6 plate, if it qualified sort of on a price basis, I bought it. And usually I buy things, I only buy bricks that I really have an idea exactly what I'm going to use it for, because I don't have a great big stock. A lot of Lego builders have loads and loads and loads of drawers of absolutely every brick and every colour and all the rest of it. And collectively it must be worth a fortune. I don't do that because I'm trying to do this as economically as possible. So I usually buy only the bricks I need. But I think it's fair to say in this particular case that whatever I buy, I will be able to use. So I'm not so worried about it when it comes to these cliff pieces. There's a couple more axles that were in that bag. 8 long with a stop and a 3 long with a end bit. As I say, it's useful to have at least a couple of virtually every length of those when you're doing that sort of work. Obviously these bags are done by colour. I think they're all used pieces this time. That's another one of those ladder pieces, but I think I'm going to use these as sort of texture on my subway stations, sort of as a roof, kind of like a, you know, sort of vented roof. couple of Technic plates. So these are great for, again, when you're using rides to secure things together, but they allow the axle to go through. 3 long axles. More of those pneumatic T-pieces, because I've been using those as not quite with one of these, but like with a 1x1 round brick to sort of act as those things you tie boats up to that I still haven't worked out what they're called, and have them along the quayside. I've got a couple there already, but there's definitely space for a few more, and they would be sort of more historical when you used to have more ships coming to and fro. Some modified bricks with the bar, lots of 1x1 round tiles. They're useful for cobbled streets and so on. I've got quite a lot of these now, so I should be able to cobble a whole area of streets so it looks sort of more old-fashioned. One of those sort of till pieces, you can never have enough of those. Can't remember why I got that. That's actually not light bluish grey, but I think that's old grey. Yeah, definitely, you can tell there. Don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's quite different. You can usually tell it's not sun bleached if you look in the area where it wouldn't get the sunlight, and it's still that colour consistently, so that's old grey. I also bought a couple of these pieces. That rocket ride that we looked at recently used these, and it sort of has a crank, so basically when one thing's turning, it sort of creates that sort of motion, so you can sort of see that it's got a wider sort of arc of circles, so that's going to cause some different motion, and I quite like that in a rocket ride. So I thought if I get a couple of those, only a couple of pennies each, then I could experiment with making different rides or even similar rides to the rocket ride. So lots of useful bits there. Ah, yes, train wheels. No explanation required, but 4 sets of those. Now, in order to do train cam, I basically have a camera mounted on a small flatbed carriage, basically. And that's all very well, but I've had to cannibalise the wheels from actual carriages that I've been using. So it'd be good to replace those so I can have a permanent tram cam carriage, so I don't need to take things apart in order just to do a bit of filming. So I'll only need 2 for that, so 2 more, because they were quite keenly priced, will enable me to make a mock carriage as well. Another thing, some more window frames that are well priced. Now these are yellow, and I was trying to think if I actually had any yellow frames in my entire city, not just the bit that we've set out in the Lego room, but in my collection. And it turned out I did, but only a couple. In fact, there's a couple on the dockside bit, the bit with the blue crane on top of the building near the green ship. There's actually a couple of these in there on door frames. Not that you'd notice particularly, but here I've got 10, I think it was, 4, 5, yes, 10. And I just really like the colour. I think that that will be something different somewhere in the city. Another set that this did come off was a Toys R Us building, and that's the sort of thing that I'll probably recreate, sort of a blue building with some yellow windows. I don't think I'll have another toy store, because I've got a toy store planned, and I've also got a Lego store planned, and I don't think we need 3, quite frankly. A couple of minifigures. This is the mechanic. Now, I've got the mechanic already, but this guy was about £1.50. And for £1.50, I recently used my red toolbox on the building site, and so I don't have another one, but now I do. Nice grey spanner, they're always useful, and a dirty face. That top, this wonderful hair, is all non-chewed and in good condition, so that's really good. So I'm going to use this as parts, basically. And quite frankly, if I've got a mechanic's yard, you can probably have more than one mechanic in it. The fact they've got a name badge saying Ralph, I believe, or Raff, it looks like, short for Raphael maybe, I don't know. Doesn't really matter, because that could be the name of the place. So he's very good. Another one is a Harry Potter one. Now I've got no Harry Potter minifigures at all, I don't think. And I don't know much about it either. Some dirt in there. But this guy just had loads of good parts, and he was about £2 as well. So regular viewers will know I don't like these skin tones, so I'll only be using yellow skin in my city. But even if I get rid of the head and the hands, there's no skin on the torso. So you've just got a nice suit from a man with a bit of a tummy. Some great hair. It's not Superman hair, is it? But it's definitely good. It's got a good sort of couple of locks hanging down, so that's really good. So I think for the parts alone, the £2 was worth it. And add to that the fact that he comes with this great suitcase, which I've not got one of, which opens and closes. I'm sure you'll be familiar with that. And this is brand new, this one as well. And it comes with 2 different cookies or pastries. I suppose they're pastries, aren't they? Danish whirl, and looks almost like an apple flan type thing. So I don't know much about this guy. Apparently he's called Jacob Kowalski, apparently. But for the parts in that set, I mean, he looks very much like a travelling salesman to me. So if I give him a sort of sneaky grin face or something, then that's probably what I'll use him for in my city, a nice travelling salesman knocking on doors and pestering people. Brilliant. What else have we got? Lots of greenery and trans pieces. And I've also got the flyer for that. So we've got some, well, quite a mix. We've got a lot of these seaweed pieces, which I may use under the sea when I eventually get to that. That's not going to be any time soon, so don't hold your breath there. Pair of, what's that, medium blue? Short legs. Some cheese wedge pieces. The medium blue and the clear I'm going to use in the sea. So the clear probably where we've got breaking waves, and the medium blue where the water's a bit deeper. Lots of these green bracelets, sort of friend's bracelet or flower pieces that I've used a lot of at the park, so it's good to have a few of those. Plate there, a couple of grabbers, they'll be good for around the rocks at my cliffs, and other cheese wedge pieces but in olive green, so there's a few of those. A couple of blue grabbers, I can't remember exactly why I bought those. Quite hard to go together, but anyway. So there's a few of those, some more plant life. This one's got some different coloured seaweed pieces. The dark green and normal green, and then I've got some of these pieces which I haven't actually had before, I don't think, which are kind of like fern leaves or even something coming out of the water, like a water plant. And there's some different colours there, 2 in the darker green. I could probably use them around the shoreline or around a river or around some rocks or something like that, so that's good to have. Well, I've just spotted one unicorn horn in orange. I use those for carrots. Basically, it's quite an easy build. Get a carrot and you stick one of those on the end. A carrot. If you get about 10 of them and put them in a little container, you know, like a crate, one of those 3x4 crates, then it looks really good. So there's a top tip for you if you didn't know that one. Bag of black stuff. So I've got a couple of these pieces which are usually used for cameras. I'm going to use them for security cameras, sort of mounted on walls, looking down very nosily. I think we're the most watched country in the world in the UK for CCTV, so may as well emulate that. Lots of walkie-talkies. I was looking for one of these the other day and I found I only had one, and I thought these were quite common, so basically I bought 4 more. Cheap black brick. More of those connectors for joining more of those Technic axle pieces. So these ones look about 6 long, yeah, and lots and lots of 2 long ones. So they'll be very useful indeed. Then we've got some cheap bricks. So I just bought all the bricks of whatever colour that were really cheap. And I've got some 2x6 in tan. I've got some 2x6, 2x8 in red. Oh, and I've got these really old sort of thick yellow arch pieces. The reason why I've got all these multicoloured bricks is because when it comes to, well, when we did our quayside in the marina, there was a lot of bricks underneath it, if you remember, to support the different levels, because obviously the table can only be at one level. So if you're going to make variations between different sections, you need to support underneath the base plates with bricks. And I've done that side, but the other side's going to be exactly the same. So behind the beach, which is going to be basically facing the marina, either side of the hole, which I will be standing in and filming from, and I'll be getting more and more difficult as time goes on because I'm going to have less and less room to work in, but nonetheless. There'll be the beach, obviously at sea level, and then there'll be a raised sort of boardwalk on that side as well before we get to the building. So there'll be sort of another graduation. So there'll be a lot of base plates to support. So every time I'm going to see any of these bigger bricks that are more useful for supporting that, I'm going to be buying them. So we've got some flower pieces in red in this bag. We've got the sort of newer type, just one of those, two of the bracelet Friends older type, and one of the Friends specific sort of petaled ones. Got a really old pizza piece. It's good to have all the different varieties. So when I got my Italian restaurant, there'll be about 4 different types of pizza round tile on show. So it's always good to get those when you see them. A couple of yellow modified plates with grabbers. Don't know what they're for either, but I think I might have just bought them because they're a penny or something. I mean, sometimes pieces in Bricklink stores are so cheap. You just think, well, I might need it, I'll buy it. A headlight piece and another modified brick. And one of those tiles with a stud in the middle, jumper stud. Oh, another minifigure. Now this again is one that I've already got, but quite frankly, it's the sort of one you can have more than one of. Oh, it's in a tiny bag. And it is Larry the barista, who's from the Lego movie. And although, as I said, I'll have him built up somewhere else, I think this was used, but he looks absolutely fine. But I mean, that's a great hairpiece, and I think that's a hairpiece that's not on any other figure, to my knowledge anyway. It's a really good grumpy sort of bearded face. The torso, well, you can always have more than one worker in a coffee shop, and I'm going to have more than one coffee shop because if you look at the world today, there's so many coffee shops. With the aprons, that's good, and he comes with a really good coffee mug, of which I've got a few of the plain ones, but this one's got the sort of logo on for the coffee chain. That's the logo that's on his shirt, which is also the logo of the coffee shop that came in a set 60097, which is actually called The Coffee Chain, and that's the coffee chain that will be most prevalent in my city in the future. So yeah, he's really good. Really good value as well, that's the other reason I didn't mention. And then another bag of tiny, tiny bits. So as I say, there's fewer really interesting pieces this time, but a lot of it was just because of these that I really needed and really wanted to get on with using. And then everything else that was cost effective. So a lot of these pieces are just small, but very useful. So I got a lot of these, even though they're in a horrible colour, because again, they're very useful for these, making the rides, because obviously they've got the hole that allows the axle through, and then you can combine, you know, a lot of ground pieces, for example, together. So they're just for combining bits, but allowing axles through. And then what else we got in here? We've got lots of these 1x2 modified bricks. And the reason I bought these is in response to people who were pointing out that I didn't have staircases in some of my smaller buildings linking the floors together. So I thought if I get a load of these, I can at least experiment with having basically a sort of, what is that, like a ladder, you know, on the wall, steps going up a wall, because a lot of the smaller mini modulars, as I call them, you know, the ones on a 16 by 16 base plate, you know, have these to enable people to get to roof spaces for a barbecue or something like that. So I thought if I get these in white, then I could even experiment putting in a little ladder up to the higher level of my surf shop, for example, to get to the Paradise Cafe. I know that would please a lot of you. I'm not particularly bothered about having those stairs, but nonetheless. What else we got? Grappling hook. I don't think I had one of those. Or maybe I do actually on the minifigure, the jewellery thief. Got some pink petal flowers. I think I just bought everything they had on the flowers. A couple of dark ones, orangey yellow ones. Got one of these ski poles, but I think I might have a spare one, so that'd be another pair, but it can always be for sale in a shop. A star wand. I thought a little girl could have that, and that would be quite good. More of these, a bit in red. A couple of these small wedge plates just to use as cliffs, and lots of black 1x1 round, because I'm using those for my benches and I've run out. And that is about that. So a pretty good and big haul. Not the most exciting, perhaps. It's stuck to me. But very necessary and very important because of the fences. So all in all, a pretty good haul. A few good minifigure pieces to use in the city, and most importantly, these fence pieces which can finish off the park. So thanks very much for watching. The view is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I think we'll be back to the marina area, because I really want to get one area completely finished. And if we get the shops in on the second row of buildings, then we can tile that area, fill it with minifigures, and it will all be complete. Then we can move on to more exciting things like the underground trains and the Nottingham Castle and the bridges and so on and so on. So see you then!